Of course, more cities across our viewing area here in North Texas are implementing curfews in an effort to stop some of the violence, some of the looting that we have seen accompanying these protests. Thousands marched, rallied, and protested over the past 24 hours in North Texas. In Dallas, police detained hundreds of people on the Margaret Hunt Hill Bridge last night. I want to go live to Chris Sadeghi because that protest did not wrap up until the wee hours of the morning.
Well, Mark, because of the curfew in Dallas, the county arranged for the demonstrations to happen at the Crowley Courts building until 10 o'clock last night. But the protesters tried to cross the Margaret Hunt Hill Bridge, and Dallas police were waiting on them. Around 9 o'clock, Dallas police used smoke to keep the group from crossing and blocking the bridge. And even though the protesters did not become violent, police did detain around 300 people. Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson did release a statement saying he had concerns about the police response to the protest, but would wait until he could get more information from them today before casting judgment. But we were told that most of those detained were not arrested. Rather, police were just trying to keep them from blocking the bridge. County Judge Clay Jenkins joined us during our 10 p.m. newscast and said they want the protest to happen peacefully and without arrests.
Tonight results in very few people being arrested and most of these protesters going home and sleeping in their beds. I think that's a good result.
And Greg Abbott will be in Dallas today. He is meeting with the police chiefs and mayors of Dallas, Fort Worth, and some other local cities about how the state response can help the situation here locally. Mark, back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Chris. I want to share with you viewers a moment I told you about earlier, a moment a lot of people are talking about because this took place in Fort Worth during the protest last night. Amidst the protests, an officer kneels to pray and those protesters embrace him. And the chief of police in the city of Fort Worth said this was a very special moment.
I thought it was pretty awesome. I think that shows something that's in the heart of a lot of officers, and maybe they don't know how to express it, or maybe the community doesn't see it, but we all pinned on the badge because we care.
Fort Worth was under a curfew from 8 p.m. until 6 o'clock this morning. Of course, after demonstrations in the city on Sunday, those ended with police deploying tear gas into a crowd near downtown. Then Mayor Betsy Price issued a state of emergency yesterday. Joining us now is Mayor Price, and we saw a much more calm night last night than we did on Sunday night. What changed?
Well, we did. We had the fewest number of arrests. We only had one arrest last night. You know, we met with Chief Krause yesterday. He is probably the most compassionate man I know, and he really wanted to do this right. He delivered the right message to his troops, handled it with compassion and caring, and as few arrest warnings, as few arrests as possible. And then he got down on his knees and he spoke to the crowd first and then got on his knees and prayed with them. And they said if SWAT would withdraw, they would leave. And he asked SWAT to withdraw, and sure enough, they left. I mean, Chief Krause and all our officers were remarkable last night. I think it showed with the crowd.
What about the use of tear gas on Sunday night? Where do you stand on that?
I mean, I think that Chief made the right decision on Sunday night. It's not something that anyone took lightly. He's on the scene. That was his decision, and I fully support him.
I want to get back to that moment we talked about, the kneeling officers with the protesters. It was a very special moment. It's moving to watch it on TV. We've been asking our viewers this morning what change they would like to see, and I'll pose the same question to you, Mayor. What change do you think we should see?
I think we should continue what we saw last night, continue the officers, the chief, all of us getting involved, getting to know these protesters, finding out what they want. We've done a lot of hard work in the last couple of years on race relations in Fort Worth, and we're just at the tip of the iceberg and it's beginning to pay off for us.
I know the city kind of has that motto, y'all means all. What are the specific ways that you move forward from this past weekend? Because even though Fort Worth has missed some of the trouble that we've seen around the country, still I think the pain is very real and very raw.
Now, the pain is very real. We are 7 months removed from the Atatiana Jefferson shooting, and it's still very raw. The relations are just raw, but they're getting better. I think we move forward by meeting with some of the protesters. Our police monitor, Kim Neal, will look at the situation, see if there's anything police could have improved on. Our diversity and inclusion director, Christina Brooks, continues her hard work. And I'd be delighted to hear from any of these folks and meet with any of them that would like to meet with the chief and I.
Well, Mayor Price, I appreciate you waking up early with us and sharing your thoughts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mark.
You have no doubt seen images from the protests around the country, as I alluded to before, all demanding justice for the Black Lives Lost. President Trump's suggestion of deploying more backup, though, has not gotten the response that he hoped for. As we say good morning to Cleo Green, who joins us live from our newsroom. Certainly polarizing is one way to put it.
Yeah, you got it. You know, in times like this, we often look to our local leaders and even our president for words of comfort. But this morning, President Trump, he is facing some harsh criticism for his handling of the crisis. Yesterday, he threatened to deploy active military personnel to U.S. streets if governors across the country don't take more action to calm the protests over the death of George Floyd. Now, it was a message of law and order to the nation from the White House Rose Garden.
City or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
Pentagon officials, they're responding, making a strong case that the situation does not yet call for deploying active duty troops unless state governors say forces are needed. And as the president threatened military action, take a look at this from D.C. This photo last night, a New York Times reporter sharing a video of a helicopter hovering over protesters, forcing them to disperse. Once again, the president has said many times that he's anti-looting and violence during protests. The National Guard also forcefully pushed back protesters outside the White House to clear a way for the president to visit a church for a photo op yesterday holding a Bible. The priest of that church says he's outraged that the church was used as a backdrop. That photo now going viral. Tashara?
My goodness, Cleo, thank you. Okay.